Hi. USC football fans keep wondering when Jordan Addison is going to make up his mind. In the meantime, the Dodgers have mounted a 5-game winning streak, and LAFC has a losing streak. Yeah, it happens. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is Faithful Angelenos. It is May 19th, 2022. I am continuing my Holidays in Hell tour in another sleazy dive hotel somewhere in Council Bluffs, Iowa. I keep looking in that direction, expecting the DEA to break through the door at any minute and ransack the place for the heroin they think I'm trafficking. What are you gonna do? Hey, by the way, we added a boatload of new subscribers looking to get in on the ground floor of Los Angeles sports. I appreciate you guys for doing that. If you like the content we've been putting out for the last 3 months, clickety-clack the like button, clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that, because it'll tell you when we drop a new video. It's usually between 9 and 10 a.m. every day. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yes, comments, because I'm not perfect. And I'm alone in the Council Bluffs. Let's go to the scoreboard in the notes before we get to our main topic, USC football. The Dodgers have completed a 4-game sweep of Arizona. Justin Turner hit a 3-run home run. They win 5-3. They won 4 games against the Diamondbacks in less than 48 hours. By the way, they also have a 2-game lead in the NL West. Meanwhile, both LA teams in Major League Soccer took the pitch last night. Sasha Kleshkin scored a penalty, but the Galaxy wound up with just a tie against Minnesota United, 1-1. Meanwhile, LAFC dropped a home game to Austin FC, 2-1. As for the notes, well, start off with the Dodgers. Jaime Jarrín and Charlie Steiner have both contracted COVID. Now, the reason this matters, even though they're announcers, is obviously they hang out with the players and the coaches. But manager Dave Roberts said the players and the coaches have not reported any symptoms, so they are cautiously optimistic. The announcers, though, are not going on the road during this upcoming road trip. It's going to be players and coaches only. They want to make sure everybody's safe. Also, Los Angeles is going to have a so-called bullpen game on Saturday. Because after all, they're playing 31 baseball games in 30 days. It's taxing the starting pitchers. So Roberts is sitting there thinking, okay, maybe we could push Tony Gonsolin's next start, give him an extra day of rest, and just roll the dice with the bullpen. Speaking of starting pitchers, injured starter Andrew Heaney threw a bullpen session on Tuesday, 15 pitches. Which isn't exactly an impressive workout, but I get it. Baby steps when you're trying to come back. The Kings have signed general manager Rob Blake. They extended him for 3 more years to run the team, hoping that he could find that next player that can lift the Kings out of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Here's something that really caught my eye. In the Pac-12, effective immediately, there are no more divisions in the Pac-12. No north-south, no east-west, whatever way your compass points. It's just going to be winning percentage in conference. That's what gets you to the football title game. Another thing that caught my eye, the Sparks. Bill Plaschke of the LA Times writes that Derek Fisher, the coach and general manager, is on the hot seat. Now, if you're like me, you want to just dismiss it. Because like a lot of things Bill Plaschke writes these days, there's no sources to it. It's just his own opinion. I mean, it's not fair to say somebody's on the hot seat unless you know somebody in the front office, wouldn't you say? But, he wrote one thing that I have heard among friends who enjoy the Sparks. See, Derek Fisher, about a year or so ago, he had a fallout with Candace Parker. Now, Candace Parker is arguably the greatest female basketball player of all time. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't, but she's in the argument. So Derek Fisher and her had a falling out. He let her go to the Chicago Sky. So what happens last year? Chicago wins the title, LA misses the playoffs, and the point is that unless Derek Fisher pulls the team out of a tailspin, he's out, which may have some merit to it. The Chargers have signed an ex-Rams defensive lineman named Morgan Fox, and dog bites man in a related story. But I really want to talk about USC football. See, Biletnikoff Award winner Jordan Addison is arguably the first so-called big-name free agent in college football. He led all of college football in touchdown receptions last year. It was 17, and he basically helped his quarterback get drafted by the NFL a couple of weeks ago, right? But now he's looking around going, do I really want to stay at Pitt? And so he opened himself up to the NIL, going into the transfer portal. And there were obviously a lot of takers, a lot of people interested. But he's narrowed his list of preferred schools allegedly down to 2. USC and Texas. Now, you might be saying to yourself, why Texas? They've stunk up the joint for quite a while. And I have an opinion on that I'm going to get to in a moment. He's already visited Texas. He didn't seal the deal. And that to me is a hint about Texas versus USC. Because what I've noticed, I've been doing some reading now because of the transfer portal. What I've noticed is that you have 2 major football powers, USC and Texas, and now they are battling each other on the opponent's home turf for recruits. Yeah, USC is looking to Texas, and Texas is looking to Southern California. And if you don't think that gets under each other's skin, you'd be fooling yourself. Which tells me that's why they're battling it out for Jordan Addison. But we're going to build that case as we go along. How do we know that these schools, that Texas is invading Southern California and Southern California is invading Texas? Well, have you noticed that Lincoln Riley isn't trying to rebuild the talent pipeline in California? At least not yet. But he hasn't really made a strong attempt to do so now. And there's a reason for that. His charge is to win immediately, right? Because USC has stunk for so long, and USC is paying through the nose to have Lincoln Riley coach. So he knows he needs to win now. So where would he go? Well, he would go to the places where he knows he can get recruits. So where did he come from? Oklahoma, which means he has Oklahoma with Texas right next door. So that's the first place he's going to look. And oh, by the way, the proof is in the pudding. Because if you look at the class of 2023, Lincoln Riley has signed as many Californians as he has Texans so far. 3 each. And by the way, USC has made a dent in Dallas in particular. There are 10 Trojan players from Dallas. They tweeted about it yesterday. It started oddly enough under Clay Helton's staff. See, 7 of USC's assistants when Clay Helton was the head coach, they went to high school in Texas. And I'm just, like I said, I'm guessing it's staying that way, at least in the short term, because that's where Lincoln Riley knows where he can make the biggest impact. Do you go to the people you know in Oklahoma or Texas, or do you try to rebuild the pipeline? What's the easier way to do it? So if you're Texas and you're watching USC raid your state, that puts you in a little bit of a pickle, doesn't it? So, who is Texas's head coach? Former Trojans head coach Steve Sarkisian. And if you don't think that he has pipelines back to LA, exactly. Matter of fact, some of the first people he hired when he went to Texas, some of the first people he hired were people who knew how to recruit in Southern California. So they're battling each other until at least USC can rebuild its own pipeline in the West Coast. So what is the next step? And how does this have to do with Jordan Addison? Well, the next step for USC is to build something called an NIL collective. Now, I didn't know what the hell an NIL collective was until I did my research. We already know from previous videos, NIL is basically the tool in which college athletes can get paid. You get paid not for playing, but you do get paid for having your name, your image, and your likeness used. You can get paid for that. So, what is an NIL collective? And by the way, some schools already have that, but USC doesn't yet. An NIL collective is a standalone company which is established to create specific financial benefit for the athletes at the schools. Now understand, the reason that it can be allowed to exist is that the school doesn't run this standalone company. You could create one. I could, if I wanted to. Random people have done it, and fans can get involved. So for example, go over to Florida. They have something called the Gator Collective. You pay a monthly fee. It could be as little as $5, or it could be a few hundred. And because of that, you get access to the players. Maybe if you go on the cheap route, maybe you get an autograph of a punter. But if you pay through the nose, well, hell, your child's birthday party just got a lot more fun when Tim Tebow shows up. Now, Texas has one. It's called the Clark Field Collective. Now, by the way, like I said, notice how it's not named after the school. They don't want any link to the school. So it's named something that the school is known for, whether it's a nickname or a chant or whatever. But USC, to repeat, does not have one. So if you're Jordan Addison, is it possible that you went to Texas and asked them to see what they could offer them through the collective, through the Longhorn Network, the money you could get through the Longhorn Network, and then after that visit's done, you don't sign up to play for them, but you go to USC and you say, this is what Texas has offered me. Can you top it? That is why USC hasn't gotten Jordan Addison yet, because they don't even have their collective. If USC can make a pitch to this player and say, look, give me 3 to 4 months, 3, 4, 5 months to have somebody, a booster, establish a collective, and you're damn straight we can top it. I think that's what Jordan Addison is looking for. I really do. Now, I might add something. Collectives are risky. You might remember a couple of weeks ago, Oregon beat USC to a 5-star offensive tackle named Joshua Connerly, right? And everybody was clowning USC for falling behind in recruiting and this, that, and the other. Well, the Oregon collective is currently being investigated by the NCAA. So as you can tell, there's a reason USC hasn't started its collective. They just want to make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Then they go after Jordan Addison. And you tell me what you think. Because I think this adds up. I think this is the reason the kid hasn't made up his mind about playing at SC yet. If you enjoyed today's discussion, then by all means like and subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. I'm James. Faithful Angelenos is a Can Corte El Queso production. Have a good day.